Mandy's parents never imagined that a simple day at the zoo would turn into something they would remember for the rest of their lives. That morning, they had packed everything with excitement. It was Mandy's first time going to the zoo. She had always loved animals, even as a tiny toddler. Their busy dog would always calm down around her, and when they took her to the park, ducks would waddle right up to her as if drawn by some invisible bond. She couldn't form full sentences yet, but she didn't need words to connect with animals. It was like they understood each other. At first, everything was just pure fun. Mandy sat in her stroller, waving excitedly at every animal they passed. She smiled so wide her little cheeks turned red. Her parents, Connor and Andrea, were happy and relaxed, glad that their daughter wasn't one of those kids who needed constant chasing or calming down. But things were about to take an unexpected turn. They reached the tiger enclosure. The Bengal tigers were mostly lounging in the distance, soaking up the sun or lazily walking around. Connor admired the powerful animals while Andrea, a few steps away, ordered some ice cream for the family. It was just a normal moment, until it wasn't. When Andrea turned back with 2 cones of ice cream, her heart nearly stopped. Mandy's stroller was empty. Panic kicked in immediately. Connor and Andrea started searching frantically. Their daughter could walk well at home, but she had never wandered off like this, especially not in a place full of strangers and wild animals. Andrea, voice shaking, asked the ice cream vendor if he had seen a little girl walking away. He hadn't. They spun around, searching, desperate. That's when they heard gasps from a crowd gathering by the corner of the tiger enclosure. Andrea rushed over, heart pounding, weaving through the tight group of people. As she pushed her way to the front, she froze. There was Mandy, standing tall, her tiny hands pressed against the thick glass separating her from a massive Bengal tiger. And the tiger was mirroring her every move. When Mandy moved to the left, the tiger followed. When she shifted to the right, the tiger mirrored her steps. It was almost like they were dancing together. People around them whispered in amazement, taking out their phones, trying to capture the unbelievable scene. Adults tapped the glass and waved, trying to get the tiger's attention, but it didn't even blink at them. It only had eyes for Mandy. Andrea wanted to scoop her daughter up and rush her back to safety, but she couldn't move. Something about the moment felt magical. Mandy gently pressed both her palms against the glass. The tiger, who had been pacing along with her, stopped. It sat down heavily, never breaking eye contact. Then, incredibly, the tiger closed its eyes and slowly lifted one huge paw, pressing it against the other side of the glass, right where Mandy's hands were. The crowd gasped out loud. Mandy, without hesitation, leaned her forehead against the window. What happened next took everyone's breath away. The giant tiger bowed his head low, almost touching the ground, and let out a deep, rumbling purr that vibrated through the glass. Connor and Andrea stood there stunned. Tears welled up in Andrea's eyes. They had never seen anything like this before. For a few beautiful minutes, the world faded away. It was just Mandy and the tiger, 2 souls somehow connected through the glass. Eventually, they decided it was time to move on. They gently pulled Mandy away from the window. As they wheeled her stroller back into the path, the tiger let out a soft, almost heartbreaking whimper, like he didn't want her to leave. They continued their walk, shaken, but trying to pretend everything was normal. Mandy seemed happy, licking her ice cream and waving at the animals again, but something had shifted. Connor couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching them. At first, he told himself he was just being paranoid. The park was full of tourists. Why would anyone be paying special attention to them? But the feeling grew stronger. He scanned the crowds and spotted a man with newspapers in his arms who wasn't behaving like everyone else. While others admired the animals and laughed with their families, this man's eyes were locked on Connor's family. Connor pointed him out to Andrea, but she brushed it off. Probably just a vendor, she said. But Connor's instincts screamed otherwise. They tried to enjoy the rest of the afternoon, but the feeling wouldn't go away. And sure enough, when they returned to the tiger enclosure, the man reappeared. Mandy once again ran up to the glass, and just like before, the tiger sprang awake and rushed to her. It was like watching a reunion between two old friends. He followed her every step, bowed again, and purred so loudly that even passers-by stopped in their tracks. Connor spotted the man out of the corner of his eye, and this time the man was walking straight toward them. Connor's heart raced. He stepped in front of his wife and daughter, ready to confront him. "What do you want?" Connor demanded. The man raised his hands calmly. He wasn't aggressive. His face softened, and he spoke in a quiet, serious voice. "I didn't mean to scare you," he said. "I've been watching you because of what happened with the tiger. I needed to be sure before I approached you." Connor and Andrea listened, wary but curious. The man introduced himself as a former zookeeper. He explained that the tiger Mandy had bonded with wasn't just any tiger. He had once been a pet, illegally kept and mistreated by cruel owners who had taken him from his mother as a cub. He was rescued and brought to the zoo after years of loneliness and trauma. Ever since he arrived at the zoo, he hadn't bonded with anyone. He avoided the other tigers. He barely acknowledged the zookeepers. No one had ever seen him interact with a human the way he had with Mandy. Tears welled up in Andrea's eyes as she listened. Somehow, this broken, lonely creature had found comfort in their little girl. The man wiped his own eyes and smiled. "It's like she healed something in him," he said. "I don't know how, but she did." Connor, Andrea, and Mandy stood there, stunned, overwhelmed by the emotions of the day. They didn't stay much longer after that. They walked slowly out of the park, holding Mandy tightly between them, feeling like something bigger than themselves had happened. It had started as a normal trip to the zoo. It ended as a day that would change them forever. A day when a little girl's pure heart reached out across a wall of glass and touched the soul of a lonely tiger.